In the Sahel, the horizon is never still. It shimmers with heat, with harmattan dust, with the long memory of drought, and with a stubborn, beautiful habit Africa has always had, refusing to be reduced to its hardest season. Burkina Faso stands inside that horizon right now, trying to do something many nations dream of and few manage to attempt in the open, to turn wealth pulled from the ground into dignity built above it. For decades, gold left Burkina's soil like a secret, measured abroad, refined abroad, priced by other people's clocks. Yet Burkina Faso is one of Africa's major gold producers, even as insecurity has bruised lives and slowed growth. And in a country where farmers still gamble with the sky and families stretch wages like thread, the question has always been simple, almost painful in its clarity. If the land is rich, why are the people still forced to live like strangers to their own treasure? In 2024 and 2025, under the transitional authorities, the state began pushing a new answer. One written in policy, yes, but also in symbolism. Economic sovereignty must become a daily meal, not a slogan. That shift is visible in the mining reforms adopted in July 2024, which increased state participation and tightened oversight, while putting heavier emphasis on community plans, local processing, and local participation. Read the fine print and you can hear the bigger story. The new mining code doesn't just rearrange paperwork, it redraws the relationship between the mine and the village. It introduces stricter regulation, requires community development plans, and places tighter conditions around processing and sales, especially gold, through prior administrative authorization. In plain language, the gate is no longer wide open. The state is trying to count what leaves, track what is sold, and hold companies to commitments that touch ordinary lives. And the state didn't stop at rules. It built a vehicle for ownership. Reuters reports that Burkina Faso's revised mining framework created a state mining company, SOPAMIB, and the government used it to gain control of two industrial gold mines formerly owned by Endeavour Mining, Boungou and Waknion, with plans to expand further. That move sent a message across boardrooms and villages alike. The era of watching from the sidelines is ending, whether investors like the rhythm or not. Reuters also notes that these reforms have worried some investors, while the government argues they are necessary to maximize revenue and reboot an economy hit by insecurity. This is the tightrope Burkina Faso is walking. 1 foot on hope, 1 foot on risk. Because resource sovereignty is not a miracle by itself. If it becomes only seizure and slogans, it can scare off capital, shrink jobs, and turn today's victory into tomorrow's shortage. But if it becomes discipline, transparent rules, predictable enforcement, real community benefits, it can finally reverse the oldest injustice on the continent, exporting raw value and importing finished poverty. That is why the push toward domestic processing matters. When Burkina Faso laid the foundation stone for a national gold refinery in November 2023, the promise was not merely industrial, it was moral. Refine at home, know the real value, keep more of the chain inside the country. The refinery was presented as a first in the country, with plans tied to jobs and a clearer accounting of what gold is truly worth. And in the wider African context, this fits a continental pattern. Building refining capacity and even accumulating gold reserves as a strategy for greater financial autonomy. But a nation cannot eat gold. So the more revealing part of the story is what Burkina Faso is trying to do beside mining. Build the ordinary industries that turn harvests into salaries and seasons into stability. In December 2024, Burkina Faso inaugurated a tomato processing plant in Bobo-Dioulasso, aimed at reducing post-harvest losses by absorbing surplus production. On the surface, it's just a factory. In reality, it is a small revolution. The farmer's effort no longer dies at the roadside. It becomes paste, packaging, transport, wages, an economy that circulates inside the country instead of bleeding out through imports. This is what using wealth for citizens looks like when it stops being a speech and becomes a supply chain. And if you listen closely, you can hear the emerging doctrine behind these moves. 1. Count the wealth. Track gold more seriously. Reduce leakage and illicit flows. Treat resources as strategic, not accidental. 2. Keep more value at home. Refine and process locally when possible. move from extraction to transformation. 3. Turn commodities into capability. Use revenue to seed industry, agriculture, and jobs that survive even when commodity prices fall. Still, the most important sentence in this story is the one Reuters captured from the Prime Minister. The population should see more benefits, not only consequences. That line matters because it admits something many governments avoid admitting. Mines can bring wealth and wounds. Dust, displacement, insecurity, corruption, the sense that the best of the nation is shipped away while the people remain on hold. So Burkina Faso's experiment, because that is what it is, an experiment under pressure, should be judged by outcomes that cannot be faked. Does the added state control translate into schools, clinics, roads, and clean water? Not only new titles and new uniforms? Does local processing create jobs with skills, not just ceremonies with ribbon cutting? Does the country keep investor relations predictable enough to fund growth while still enforcing national interest? If the answers begin to turn positive, Burkina Faso becomes more than a headline. It becomes a signal flare for other African countries trapped in the old pattern. Rich ground, poor people. Because the real lesson is not nationalize or don't nationalize. The real lesson is deeper. A nation must own the story of its wealth through law, through capacity, through honest accounting, through value addition, through visible public benefit. That is how a country becomes emerging in the only way that matters. Not by the praise of outsiders, but by the relief of its own citizens. A mother who finds affordable tomato paste made in her own region. A young man who chooses a factory shift over a militia paycheck. A farmer who learns that harvest can finally mean profit, not loss. A treasury that can plan beyond the next emergency. Burkina Faso is not finished. It is not safe from setbacks. It is not immune to the dangers of overreach, opacity, or geopolitical turbulence. But in the Sahel, hope is rarely loud. It is practical. It is built. And if this path holds, if gold becomes roads, if policy becomes bread, if sovereignty becomes services, then Burkina Faso offers Africa a powerful, poetic possibility that the continent can stop exporting raw destiny and start refining it at home.